Darren Rees, thank you so much for joining us, mate. We've had you on the program before. Love your analysis. And this is a heavyweight fight that's been worth waiting for.
Oh, absolutely. So we've not had anything as big as this since the year 1999 when Lennox Lewis had his rematch of Evander Holyfield. And that was the last time
Good on you,
that
yeah. Good call.
all of the heavyweight belts were fought for. The recognised belts anyway. Boxing's quite political. So yeah, the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world has finally come round again. Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. And it's been postponed a couple of times, but May 18th is nearly here, and yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I suppose a part of the fascination is that we haven't seen either of these guys in action for so long, it feels. You know, Tyson Fury retired, he's come back. So talk us through that bit first before we actually get into the disparities of actually the weight, the height, the reach and everything else.
I think that the main person to focus on in this is Tyson Fury. So his last bout was around 7 months ago, which isn't abnormal for a heavyweight, but the circumstances were quite abnormal. And that's the fact that Tyson Fury boxed Francis Ngannou, the MMA fighter, and it was Francis Ngannou's debut fight as a boxer. And there are a lot of people, including me, who think that Francis Ngannou won that fight against Tyson Fury. But Tyson got his hand raised and was victorious at the end of the bout. And there was a lot of controversy that surrounded it. But I think the bottom line is Tyson Fury did not take Francis Ngannou seriously one bit. He came in at a career heaviest of like 277 pounds. He was completely out of shape. He wasn't up for the fight at all. And because of that, we saw a really poor performance from him. Hopefully, like many sports people or sports teams, when they've got the best in front of them, you get the best out of them. So that might be a thing of the past, that Francis Ngannou fight. And let's hope that he's a completely different man and the best he's ever been on Saturday when he fights Oleksandr Usyk.
Fury, you look at, I've got, a lot of comments here which have come through on the social media to me. He's too big, he's too smart, he's too classy. You got that height and reach. And in heavyweight boxing, you always look at that, good big man beats a good small man. Look, he's not a small man, Usyk, but, how does he overcome those especially? Just that gangliness of Fury and his just uncanny ability to continually hit you.
So I've had the pleasure and I've had the luxury of being 6 foot away from the ring when Oleksandr Usyk has been boxing. And let me tell you, he's one of the most special people I've ever seen live in a boxing ring. What he does is just magical. I've never seen anybody move their feet, their body, their head so often, so fluently and so perfectly like Oleksandr Usyk does. But he doesn't just do that. He changes the pattern of his punches. He changes the angle of his punches. He changes the flow. He changes everything. So he's so difficult to read. And what he does is he exhausts his opponents. He completely and utterly exhausts them because they have to be so switched on. They have to watch every single move that he is making. And they have to switch off at one point because you can't not unless you're a robot. And then when you do, boom, he detonates an almighty straight back left hand or straight or uppercut or a hook like he did against England's Tony Bellew. Everyone thought Tony Bellew was doing fantastically, and he was. But Oleksandr Usyk knew exactly what the game plan was, and he was wearing his man down, and then he detonated a shot, and down went Bellew. And we could see exactly the same thing with Tyson Fury on Saturday.
Yeah, in terms of quality opponents, when you rack and stack who's fought who and who's fought who wins out in that?
Do you know what? They're probably fairly even when it comes to that sort of question because Usyk is an undisputed cruiserweight world champion, and he's generally been in the cruiserweight division for the majority of his professional career and hasn't boxed a lot in the heavyweight division, where Tyson Fury's only been in the heavyweight division. So Usyk's had to fight and had to travel and and fought in the backyards of the world champions from cruiserweight to win those titles. And then Tyson Fury has boxed and won against the likes of Vladimir Klitschko, against Deontay Wilder, and so on. So in terms of their previous opponents and weighing it up like that, I think they've probably had their fair share of tough fights in the ring.
Is it in your mind, and this is what we love about heavyweight boxing, and it's so good to talk to you, Darren, about heavyweight boxing. I'm old enough to, my old man got me me and my brother out of school to watch the Rumble in the Jungle in 1974. So, I've lived through that, just the glory, the holy era of heavyweight boxing. It feels great to be talking about it again for a start. Can we just digress to that? Because, the sweet science and everything else, it used to be the fastest man on the planet and the baddest man on the planet, the heavyweight champ.
Yeah, I think there's just something special about heavyweight boxing, and what I would do to go in a time machine and go back to the likes of the Rumble in the Jungle and the Thriller and the Manila and the Fight of the Century and all those type of bouts which I've watched and read about for such a long time. And heavyweight fighting, heavyweight boxing is just so special. I was at a really small venue in London called York Hall just on a weekend doing some commentary. And soon as the heavyweights come out,
Right.
everyone pays attention. They immediately pay attention because guess what? You might get a knockout. You're pretty likely to get a knockout when it's heavyweight boxing. And as harmful as it is and as dangerous as it is, people, they just love it.
Yeah,
they
we
just
do.
love
We
to
do.
see it. And sports people, I always say, right, with boxing is I split it into three categories when it comes to fights. Number one is boxing people. People like myself, people who will follow the sport and watch whatever fights there are. And then there's sports fans, whether you're cricket, rugby, whatever it is. Then there's a level of fight which will capture your imagination then. And then there's just the general public. And this type of fight, because it's the heavyweights and because what's on the line, this captures everyone, including the general public. And that's what makes it special.
The winner of this becomes, and it's that word, it's undisputed, and it's happened so rarely, as you said right at the very start. You go back to 1999, Mike Tyson was one who managed to unify Muhammad Ali. I mean, of course, he was the greatest and everything. So is it undisputed? Is there no discussion at all? Whoever wins this, you are the heavyweight champ of the world. There is no one else.
That's it. Because there's now 4 recognised governing bodies, you can be a world champion with the IBF, the WBC, the WBO, etc. Where because all of these belts, because every single one is recognised, because you will hold all of them. And also, don't forget as well, one of the things Tyson Fury is very proud of is he says that he is the lineal champion. If you go back in history, he's a lineal champion because there's no belt attached to that. But what that is the man who beat the man who beat the man.
Right.
And if Oleksandr Usyk beats Tyson Fury, then not only does he hold all 4 of those belts, and he becomes the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. But then if Tyson Fury beats Oleksandr Usyk, he's still the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, and he holds all 4 of those belts. And you've got to say, he will officially establish himself as one of the greatest heavyweights of the modern era.